Hi, Brad.
Hey.
Hey, a season's worth of soccer tennis on match day -2, but you changed it up today.
Change it up? Yeah, you're right. The season's worth is a little, over exaggeration. I wouldn't say it's a 34 for 34.
Yeah.
Match day minus
Check the
two.
notes, but it seems like it's been pretty close.
Yeah, pretty close. Again, sometimes, we have some suggestions and, just to, respark something and do something out of the ordinary to try and rekindle, to try and light a fire, to try and do something different. And, I think we got the desired effect today.
Does it feel different when you get to a game in which it's losing is not an option, that it's all or nothing? Does that feel different, say,
Yeah.
than last week?
Yeah, I mean, it's something we kind of haven't been challenged with the whole year, right? Because it was never an equation or it was never a question. And now we're left with the question, and it's almost an exciting one, because, what better place to go to Kansas and to, upset Kansas in Kansas at their home stadium. I mean, we know how it felt last week, and there's no reason why we shouldn't believe that we can do the same thing going into that stadium. So, again, this week has been really energized. It's been good spirits and knowing that something's on the line that, against problems we've never been faced with before. So, it's about us now coming to put us on display against all odds, of which pretty much the whole season was. And that's where we're going to start off the game.
Go to Saki and then Matt.
Probably different competitions, but U.S. Open Cup and Leagues Cup, the team kind of face elimination games.
Yeah.
Anything, any takeaways from those games? Anything you can apply to this game?
No, I don't. There's a different tension. There's a different stress level. There's a different pressure level. When you talk about the MLS and the playoffs and what have you. Not that those games were treated lightly by any means. We went out to win those games, and small margins defined those games. But yeah, I think going into how you looked at the end of Leagues Cup after match day 17 or wherever we were at that point, and looking how it went, we still collected points consistently. We still maintained our spot out of, 29 match days out of 34. We were on top of the conference. So something to that effect. So again, talk about, management, talk about, players that were injured, players that were not in contention, players that are now fit, healthy, strong. I think we're in a way better position now than we were then.
Coach, Alan Polito's been, I think, one of the biggest difference makers for SKC the entire season. Yeah. Without him, they didn't win for 11 games. He seems to have an ever-present mindset against St. Louis in particular. How do you look to stop him and the creativity he offers in the final third in this next game?
Yeah, I think it's, Alan does a great job of floating between the lines. He does a great job of, taking the defenders into different areas where they feel uncomfortable. So we have to be feeling comfortable in those areas. So these are some of the things we've been speaking about. And, I don't think it just pins it down on Alan. I think it just, there's Eric Tommy that comes into the equation. Then there's the wingers that come into the equation. So, again, it's a real cohesive front unit and we have to solve to fit those or fix those problems as they come up. So yeah, but Alan's done a great job. He's a good pro. He's a savvy soccer player. He knows when to ride the tackle. He knows when to take the foul. He knows when to get the shot off. He knows when to bring other people into play. So again, yeah, this is a good soccer team that we're coming up against, and it's something maybe a lot of people didn't know coming into the playoffs, but we for sure knew our opponent.
And one of your favorite things to say is you like to stick to your own principles, getting back to
Sure.
the way that you play. Being, I guess, caught off guard, or not necessarily caught off guard, but at least put on the back heel from a possession perspective, and SKC kind of dictating the pace of play. How do you look to get back to your principles and force your style onto SKC?
Yeah, there's a few ways to gain control of a game, right? And yeah, I would say, the principles, in a certain moment where we concede, consecutively over a short span of time, that's deflated. Right, it deflates you as a group. It deflates you, you and your principles, whatever principles on that day you might apply, or whichever team you're coming up against. If you work so hard to come back into a game, and then you concede two, back to back almost pretty much, that takes the sails out of like the wind out of your sails, and it's tough to come back from those moments. So it's something that you not automatically can just turn on like a tap and the water just flows, right? So you have to work your way back into the game. So we've looked at that, and we found this week some good learnings and findings about how to get the rhythm back of who we stand for and what we are. So we've done a lot of that. So again, we're just eager and excited to go and put it out and give it one more shot.
Next we'll go to John Lupo.
Hey, Bradley, so just two-parter. First part part is, you mentioned this is not a situation you guys have faced all year. Do you feel like veteran leaders like Tim Parker and Jake Nowinski, who've been in the playoffs before, do you feel like the team sort of turns to them just to see this type of situation? They've been through it before, they know what to do. And the second part is, it seemed like early in that game, Kansas got a lot of time and space. We know you're always going to create a ton of chances with all the offensive talent you have. What do you think would be the key to setting the tone and going about closing down their time and space? It might be a little more difficult there at home, but how do you go about doing that?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, to the first part, I mean, yeah, Tim, I think we said it before the game, or I think you had it, Thomas, that the 17 playoff games that the group had together, 11 of those came from Tim Parker. So, obviously we have guys on and off the field that offer massive contribution, right? So whether they're playing or not, and whether they're contributing by doing things in training and pushing the group in that way, or whether they're urging them on in team meetings and video and or on the sidelines. So, we found a good chemistry and a balance, and the guys have been great with that, energizing each other, pushing each other, supporting each other, and that's what we've stood for, is the collective, right? So what we need to do against Kansas is to put the game on our terms. What is our signature, and how do we apply that? Because we all have a signature and a style of play and an identity and a philosophy and an intensity of how we do things. And we try to gain control in a certain way in that game, and it didn't work out. And then we didn't get the net in place. We were too far apart from each other, so the departments, whether it was east to west or north to south, the gaps were just too big for us. So, and the more we go into sort of realms of desperation, the more spaced out you get and the more exposed you get. So no shame in that we learned that way. We learned the hard way, and we couldn't find ways to get back in the game. So we huffed and we puffed, and we couldn't break them down. So have we learned from that? Damn right. And we're looking forward to put the next one to bed.
You talked in the past couple of games about not overthinking. Is that something you really have to fight in a situation like this, as to whether you're making roster changes, lineup changes, or whatever, to not overthink it?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, listen, we've done it the whole year in, right? Not to overthink it, and to make changes and be brave if we've needed to, whether it's been players or staff. It's something we've preached from day one, something that we've said we need everybody in camp, right? Everybody's going to play a contribution. And I think for 34 match days, you saw everyone play a contribution in some form or fashion, right? So, and we're just grateful from the group that they've accepted that environment, right? It's never easy to be in an environment where you think that, okay, I'm going to play, how much am I going to play? Why don't I play so much? How many games? I've got 10 games now. Why don't I play 12, 15, 18? So again, the group has managed it in a real admirable way. And that's what made us strong. That's what made us, number one in the West. And that's what made us believe. And that's what we do believe. So moving forward, that's just what we're going to do, is not to overthink things.
So does this also mean then that significant lineup changes would not be surprising to see on
we won't overthink things.
With all losses counting the same, whether it was 2-1 or 1-1, or even and you lost on penalty kicks, does a 4-1 loss serve a purpose? Is it a bigger whack to the head than a 2-1 loss?
No, I mean, the moments that we give away are 4 dead ball moments. It's a throw-in, it's 2 long goal kicks, and it's a corner. So 4 dead ball moments, which lead into run-of-play moments, yes, and what is our chain reaction on top of that. So those are some of the things that we're very upset about. Those are some of the things that really hurt the most. So, those are points of a lot of discussion this week, and how we can correct those. And, we've owned it. We've taken accountability and responsibility for that. And, enough talking. There's always a next time, and the next time is now.
Didn't get a chance to ask you. I meant to ask you this on Wednesday, but in the lineup on Sunday, Thorson wasn't on the lineup. You had an extra defender in, I guess, Bartlett. But did you feel you were going to need an extra defender on that, or was
that didn't play a big role into it? There's 2 parts to that, of which I won't go into. But we just thought, hypothetically, we're leading the game. We need an extra defender on the field to, defend 5 at the back. Whatever it might be, scenarios. Obviously, those scenarios did not come into play. But whether there was no way we would have put 5 attackers on the field, chasing a game. So, and whether 4-1 means the difference between 1-0, it's a loss, and that's this new playoff format, and that we have to embrace now. We going there with nothing to lose, which is a situation that we've put ourselves into, which is not a great situation. But now, we have to. Or Kansas has to deal with the things we dealt with playing at home here. So we have to find ways and means to, put them in situations to feel uncomfortable in their home stadium.
We're going to Tom Schwartz.
Hey, Coach, how important is it to quickly forget?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is pretty important, but it's, you should never forget, where you came from and how you got there and what is actually happening. So, yeah, for sure we want to forget the last 2 weeks. For sure we want to forget the 3 losses, but also you don't want to forget not to learn and take a step backwards to take 2 steps forward. So when those 2 steps forwards, for damn right, we're hoping sure that it's going to happen now on Sunday, that we've come 2 steps forwards, right? So we learn from these moments, and, we wouldn't sign up to the job if they were going to say you're going to win 34 match days out of 34 and you're going to have no injuries, and you're not going to be challenged, and it's going to go all your way. So I think when we all sign up for this job, we all like it when times get tough. We all like it when we get challenged, because that makes the moments when you succeed again that much sweeter. So, we're in this for the long haul, and, we've looked at this over a long grand scheme of things from match day 1. So, we learn out of these moments, we take accountability, we take responsibility, and we're looking to go 2 steps forward.
Next, we go to Matt Rocchio.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned a couple times, a lack of connectivity from Sunday. What do you chalk up the biggest reason to that? Was that something that Kansas City did to you guys, or was that a lack of positioning or execution on your part?
Yeah, well, when you concede those goals the way you do, you kind of fall into a world of desperation, and you start trying to, try and force the game in certain ways. And we just didn't put ourselves into good spots when we turned over the ball. So, I mean, that's basically that answer in a nutshell there.
How's Nielsen holding up? I guess the schedule has been fairly light for him. Is he doing okay with his knee-wise and everything?
Yeah, good. I mean, listen, credit to Joachim. The way he's bounced back after his injury, that's not normal, to happen. Usually there's a muscle tear here or there. Usually there's little, infections that go on within the tendons or the muscles or what have you. So, credit to the medical staff and credit to him to ride those challenges and ride those moments. But we've also given him enough pause and break, during these sort of match days for him to bounce back. So, yeah, no issues there.
And I assume Alm is clearly out again since he hasn't practiced this week.
Yep.
Yeah. And Edu, okay, he came out early. I guess he's okay, but were you just because of the yellow card, or were you? He came out, which he seldom does.
Yeah, no, sometimes, he seldom does, and he doesn't enjoy it, But yeah, that's the challenge, right? That's the challenge to everybody, right? We've set a standard for ourselves, and by no means is his possession in question and what have you. But yeah, we challenge ourselves, and we challenge us as coaches, and to try and get some kind of a spark going in the game again. So that we bring Edu out, totally understandable, totally normal. We've done it to every single player throughout the season, and we're just trying to reignite something, to re-spark something, and sometimes a little break like that does a world of good.
Coach, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.